Some weeks ago, I analyzed and reacted to the squat and deadlift of the most dangerous gym in the US, aka Diamond Gym.
You gotta shoot and drop, bitch. Let's go. Bang.
But I didn't react to their bench press. As you know, I'm a powerlifting world champion, and for powerlifting, you have 3 movements, so the squat and deadlift that we already covered, but you also have the bench press. Without any doubt, the bench press is the king of exercises that you can do in a gym. And that's why today I wanted to add the analysis of Unc and Hadi's bench press to this video. Small recap for those of you that didn't watch the first video. What I said was that in general, their movements were pretty good and also their level of strength was decent. And actually, they both commented under my video. Hadi was actually pretty cool about it and he also even invited me to train with them. But the problem was I actually had a powerlifting competition and training with those guys with this kind of training like a week out from my powerlifting competition wouldn't make a lot of sense. On top of that, contrary to Hadi's comment, Unc's comment was a bit different. So he commented all capital letters. The bar is 66 pounds. The chains are 40 pounds a piece. We are not powerlifters. We push it to the max. Feel free to pull up, do your critique in person. So when I read that comment, I knew that if I pulled up, Unc would try to make me throw up on camera. I think that would be his way of getting a revenge at me. But don't worry, Hadi, really appreciate the invite. Unc, I'll come do my critique in person in Diamond Gym soon, hopefully. But for now, let's analyze their bench press.
Go! Go! Motherfucker! Go back and get it! Cause there was something left.
So, I like those guys. I'll be honest with you, at first when I saw the videos, I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. But then if you look, it's like dudes that really want to push themselves. Obviously, they don't train like that always all the time. It's just that it's part of their image, I would say. And it's obvious that when they train, they have to go a bit hardcore. But I have a problem. So Unc's comment was, no, the bar is heavier and we have chains on, etc. Chains don't really matter that much, and I'll explain why. When you're lifting with a chain, the more range of motion you go through, the harder it becomes. Obviously, because the chain is resting against the floor. For example, on a bench press, a lot of the chain weight is actually on the floor. So even if the chain is 40 pounds, maybe in reality, it's only 20 pounds at the bottom because the rest is already resting on the floor. And the more up you go, so the higher you go in your reps, the more chain weight you actually get. But as you probably know, whether it's for squats or deadlift, the lowest part is actually the hardest part. When you fail a bench press attempt, usually you get pinned under the bar. It's like here and you're not really moving it. Pretty much the same with squat. When you go down, the lower you go, the harder it is. And so that's really counterintuitive to what the chains are doing, because with the chains, it's the opposite. The lower you go, the easier it is, and the higher you go, the harder it becomes. So that's why, in my opinion, chain weight doesn't really matter a whole lot. It maybe matters for equipped powerlifters because it's a bit different, but for raw lifters like they are, like I am, like 99% of the gym bros are, chain weight, in my opinion, is just a way to boost your lift. It's like, oh no, it's not just 300 pounds, it's 300 pounds plus 80 pounds of chains. No, because again, like I said, chains are against the floor, so it's never the pure weight of the chain. And also, the lower you go, the easier it becomes with the chains. So that's why, in my opinion, it doesn't really make a whole difference, and I'm sorry to Unc about that. Please don't write another comment, capital letters, screaming about the chains. I don't think they matter that much in terms of how much does it really add to the difficulty of the lift. So as always, supersetting everything with push-ups, so even bench press. And here Unc did 2 reps with, so it's 3 plates plus, I would say it's maybe a quarter. So it's probably 145 kilos in pounds, should be around 330, I would say, 325, 330. In terms of technique, I think Unc's technique is actually pretty good. So as you can see, he has a pretty wide grip, so not crazy wide grip, but still a pretty wide grip. If you know me, you know that I really like the wide grip because one of the main roles, one of the main focus of the bench press is to develop your chest. And the wider you go, the more stretch you get at the chest, which is very, very good. And if your chest hasn't exploded with the bench press, it's probably because your grip is maybe a bit too narrow. Some key elements also, he has a very good joint stacking. So as you can see, when he pushes the weight, his elbows open up a bit, and that's exactly what you want. On the contrary, you don't want to see a movement where your elbow gets inward and so you get pinched like that, a lot of stress on the shoulders. On the contrary, you really want to have the shoulders in alignment with your forearm, and when you push, actually opening up a bit your elbows is a very, very good lifting cue. So here, Unc masters all of that, and his technique is actually very, very impressive. I just have one small caveat though. So on the first rep, he doesn't go like full lockout. And like I said, if you really want to use the weight of the chain, the more range of motion you have, so the higher you'll go, the more chain weight you actually have to face. And here, because he's stopping like shy away from the lockout, I think he's not using like the chain weight to its like fullest advantage. But like I said, in my opinion, it really doesn't matter a whole lot. There is no way in hell the chains here add 40 pounds. Maybe at the bottom up of the rep, maybe it's like 160 kilos, 165 kilos. But you know it if you're bench pressing, like that's not the hardest part, like without any doubt. Actually, I did a small test some months ago where I used a board to like show that the powerlifting arch, everybody was like, no, the arch in powerlifting, like the big crazy arches, this is not cheating. Not everybody can be stronger with a shorter range of motion, which obviously doesn't make any sense. So in order to like quote unquote prove my point, I was like, okay, I'll bench press from a board and we'll see. And I think if I'm not mistaken, I bench pressed 210 kilos, which is like probably 460 pounds, 470 pounds. And at that moment, my bench press 1RM was below 405 pounds. I think I was like in the 380s, 390s. So I almost added 60, 70 pounds, so 30, 40 kilos to my bench press with the board. So that's to my point that like from here to here, you can probably bench press 30 kilos more than you usually bench. So that's why, in my opinion, the chain weight doesn't matter a lot here. So for Unc, in terms of strength, like doing 2 reps with let's round it up to 150 kilos. For a guy his size is not like crazy strong. Now, obviously in this video, they already did like a lot of exercises like triceps push down, stuff like that. So he's probably a bit fatigued. But even then, I think a guy his size should be able to rep out like 4 plates, even with this amount of fatigue. So I would say in terms of strength, I will maybe give Unc like a 7.5. In terms of technique, honestly, I think I would probably give him 9. They're not using their legs. They're doing what we call Larsen press. I think it's a great variation if you really want to like focus on the chest because without the legs, you're obviously benching a bit less weight, but you have more focus on your upper body, especially like chest. So I would say Unc knows how to bench press. So Unc, if at some point we meet each other, remember that I said that about you. Like, don't just focus on maybe the not as good things that I said, just focus on the right things. I said, Unc, you know how to bench press. So now that Unc did his bench, it will be Hadi's turn. So let's see Hadi's bench. Oh, yeah, I forgot about the push-ups.
Yeah, you gotta lead by example, right? I can't tell him to do some shit, then I don't do it, so I double up. This shit different. Let's go. 40-pound chain, 55-pound bar.
He mentioned the chains. Unc, come on, man. Exactly like in my comment. I don't know why Unc loves his chains so much. If any of you guys, or maybe if Unc, you want to answer, like, why this like obsession with chains, bro? Like, I really don't get it.
Pound bar. He gotta break it himself, Scott. Let him break it. Let him try to break it. Just did. Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me.
Okay, they're having an argument here. Things just got intense. He said he has to break it. So I'll be honest with you, I don't know what he means exactly. My guess is, so the other guy was trying to give him a lift off and he said, no, he has to lift it off himself. Unfortunately, we have a disagreement here, Unc. Like, I get where he's coming from, like it's more badass if you unrack the bar yourself, etc. Yeah, I get it. But at the same time, sometimes having a lift off allows you to have much better positioning. Much better positioning equals less risk of injury and also potentially more strength. In my opinion, one of the biggest mistakes some beginners are doing in the gym when they're trying to unrack the bar is instead of keeping their shoulders like nicely back into the bench, they will simply roll the shoulders forward in order to unrack the bar. Here, in my opinion, he is getting a lift off to avoid that, because then if somebody is lifting off the bar, you just have to focus on like bringing it like to your level and not rolling it forward. So in my opinion, getting a lift off, if you can get a good lift off, is better than no lift off. Up until like 300 and maybe 50, 60 pounds, I can definitely unrack the bar alone, and I can even unrack like four or five alone, but having a lift off allows me to really get into the position that I want. So I would say it's 50-50 here. I agree with like Unc's with it's like you have to be able to lift the bar yourself up if you're alone in the gym. But if you have good gym bros, like they're always training together, then having a lift off is, in my opinion, better. You can do better sets, better technical execution, less risk of injury. So overall, there are a lot of benefits to getting a lift off.
Try your best to push it up here. You won't take it out the normal rep, but try to break it. Get used to using your chest and your core. No, listen, get up.
So sorry, Unc. Like I said, I get where you're coming from, but in my opinion, you guys are gym bros. Let him have his lift off. Like I'm Team Hadi here. Let Hadi get his lift off.
It's actually a really lovable moment.
Scholar just fucked that up.
Oh.
Oh, let it go. Scholar fucked that up, and I apologize.
So, I think you get what I'm saying when I say I thought Unc would be stronger on the bench press. Look at how he lifted Hadi up like he's like a suitcase. Like he turned Hadi into a suitcase. And, you know, I don't know exactly how heavy Hadi is. I think he's probably around 200 pounds at least. That's what I would say. Because dude is big. He lifted him like he's a suitcase. That's wild. And they even like dropped the bar at the same time. That's wild.
Yo, I'm sorry. I apologize. My bad, Hadi.
Hadi's shocked. Like,
Hey yo, Grandpa, the fuck is wrong with you?
No, don't blame me. Blame him first.
I will tell you.
Okay, blame me first, and then.
Hadi, I don't want to be that guy. And I think you should always stand your ground. 100% agree with that. But when bro lifted you like a suitcase and you're trying to like have a scramble with him, it's like, maybe not the best idea. That was crazy. You know, that's the thing where it's obvious that sometimes they're being serious and sometimes they're having fun, you know? And I really don't get this whole idea of people trying to bash them up like, oh, this is not the most optimal training. You know, I said it in my previous video, I said, if you're trying to train for how strong you can possibly be with the best training outcome possible, then yeah, obviously, supersetting everything is not the best thing. Having 3 exercises prior to your compound lift is not the best thing. But you also have to factor in that some people want to train the way they want to train. It's not just about the end goal, the result. It's also about the process. So now it's Hadi's turn to bench press. Hopefully, Unc lets him do his bench press and doesn't decide to just lift him up the bench. So let's see.
Another. Good.
One more.
Up.
Okay, so here Hadi is doing 2 reps with a bit less than 2 plates. I think I've seen him do 2 plates with that same exercise. Either way, in terms of technique, I would say his technique is okay. Pretty much like the video from before. Obviously, I think Unc has been lifting for more years than Hadi, and it's obvious because his lifting technique is a bit better, I would say. So here we can see Hadi struggling, especially with the lockout. And it makes a lot of sense because, as you can see, his arms are really long. Like when he's standing up, his arms are really long and he has a lot of range of motion. He's probably going lower than Unc is going. So what I would say is, in order to counter that, one good thing you can do is widen your grip a bit, because the closer your grip is, the more range of motion you have. The wider it is, the lower range of motion you have. And also he's losing it like at the lockout, so really here. And by then, most of the work is coming from the triceps. So if you see that the triceps is probably one of the limiting muscles of your bench press, then widening your grip will have more leverage on the chest, a bit less on the triceps, and that's how you can also overcome that. Obviously, doing some triceps work could be interesting. I'm assuming they're already doing that. So if that's the case, you know, some people are like, oh, I'm always failing at lockout, so the problem comes from the triceps. So if I bulletproof my triceps, then I won't have any issue. Yeah, but a weak point will pretty much always be a weak point, but by training it, you can make it not as weak, quote unquote. So with his leverages, because he has really long arms, I think the lockout will pretty much always be a trick point for Hadi. So I would say widen your grip in order to have more leverages on your chest, and also continue to have some triceps work in order to, you know, counter that. Here we can see, in reality, the chains could be a good variation because most people will fail their bench press at the lower part of the lift, but here with Hadi, we can see it's not the case. So actually, for an athlete like Hadi, having chains could be interesting because you're actually overloading the bottom up portion of the lift, which is the problematic portion of the lift for Hadi. So now in terms of strength, I think I will probably give Hadi a weaker score than Unc. I think Hadi would probably be around 6 out of 10 in terms of pure strength. And I would probably also give him like 7, 7.5 in terms of technique. His bar path is not the best, so he's pushing almost forward. And when you're pushing forward, you're not pushing in the best direction possible. When you're bench pressing, you want to push up and slightly back. And here he's pushing like up but forward. So that's what I would say overall in terms of strength. So now, if I were to give my final conclusion, how good are the bench press of the guys training at the most dangerous gym in the US? I would say it's pretty decent. Unc definitely knows how to bench press, although I would expect a bigger bench press from Unc. Like, I'll be honest with you, in my opinion, Unc, with his frame, with his body weight, with how muscular he looks, I think he should bench press 500 pounds, I would say. Maybe he already did a 500-pound bench, but I just simply didn't find it. If that's the case, then Unc, let me know. But yeah, at least. And Hadi, I think with Hadi is pretty big, man. I think he should bench 3 plates and a half, 160 kilos, 170 kilos, I would say. Anyway, if at some point I'm training with you guys, I'm really looking forward to having a good old bench press training session. Yeah, I'm assuming they'll make me throw up, but that will be okay because, you know, I said some things that, you know, could be perfected on their technique. So it would be fair for them to like scream at me, especially Unc, I think, will scream at me. And I think Hadi will be in my corner, but at the same time, he doesn't want to piss off Unc, so we would have to figure it out. But at least here from the comfort of my home in France, I can say, guys, you're doing great things. Could be better on the bench press, but hey, if we link up anytime soon, maybe we can work that out. By the way, I just want to say for the record, when I said to my camera guy, hey, they actually answered and maybe we're going to train with them, he said, I don't think it's a good idea because sometimes they also make the camera guys and the editors of the guys they're collabing with do some training. And I think if they do that to my camera guy, he's doomed. I think he'll leave me. I think he'll just quit the job. So please, if at some point this happens, Hadi, Unc, leave my camera guy alone. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. As always, if that's the case, one of the best ways to let me know is to subscribe, to leave a comment, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. By the way, I think I'm making like very, very good gains physically. So my current power building program will be out very, very soon. I'll do a video and then I'll release the program. So in order to not miss that out, feel free to subscribe. Guys, see you in the next one.